Hello and welcome to this brief presentation of the CRM Memberflo Member Self-Service Portal. In this presentation, we're going to look at the Memberflo Member Portal, which is a HTML5 adaptive application, meaning that it can be accessed through a standard desktop web browser, from a tablet or mobile device, or any other web browser on any device that's available, and it will reformat itself accordingly based on that device. But before we get into the portal, I'd just like to briefly talk about the account for a contact person in CRM. So what we have in front of us here is a Sage CRM profile for Mr. Ronald Blackwood. And you can of course see all of his basic contact information. And in particular, what I'm interested in is the Web tab. This web tab contains Mr. Blackwood's permissions and access rights for the member self-service portal. And this is where, as a user of CRM, we can go to either enable him, disable him, or change his settings according to whatever preferences we would like. So we can see, for example, what is his username. So this is the username he would use to log in. And how is his username assigned? So there's actually a couple of different ways usernames can be assigned. They can be manual, meaning that you can just type in whatever you would like his username to be. It can be automatically sent to his customer number, automatically set to his email address, or automatically set to his unique person ID. And so depending on which one you choose, his username would be set accordingly. His password, this isn't actually his password. The member portal has two different methods for storing passwords. There's what's called encrypted mode, which is a two-way reversible password. That is a method you would use if you were going to integrate the Memberflo portal into, say, a third-party application, such as a public website. So if the website needed to be able to authenticate or retrieve the password to use in other software, you would use the encryption method. And then there's what's called the one-way hashing method, which is a more secure configuration for passwords. It means that we don't actually store the password and we can't reverse the password, but we can compare a value that's entered, say, onto a login form to the value that is stored to see if they match. That's the most secure method, and that's what's being used here. So when we see this big long text string, this is actually the hashed value, and it's not the actual password itself. It's not valuable to anyone. But if I wanted to reset this person's password, I could go and type in a new password here, and then that would later be available and usable for the person to log in. You can see there's other permissions here, such as can the person register for events online? Can they modify their account profile? Can they add or delete other contact people from their profile? Can they view and pay invoices? That's obviously a particularly important one. Can they view documents? So that would be any kind of documents that were filed on their profile. It could be, for example, receipts, invoices, Word documents, PDFs, etc. Can they view cases? So that would be support items if they needed to make an inquiry for help. The case management function would kick in. Can they run reports? In conjunction with the Member Manager report function, you can actually create reports in CRM and publish them out to the portal so that members themselves can run them. And that's particularly useful for things such as, say, the leaders of a committee who need to be able to run a report to say who are the members of the committee or other sorts of information. But those reports can be on most anything. You can actually allow people on the portal to send bulk email through the Member Manager's membership email function. So as opposed to having to log into CRM to send, say, a bulk email out to all the membership, an actual portal user could do that. And then you can restrict what territories within your CRM system they can email. So maybe they can only email people in their geography or in their committee, right? And then there's some other settings here, such as whether they can add or edit volunteerism on the portal. So that's functionality where they can say what events did they participate in, where did they volunteer, how much time did they spend, all those different things. And there are, of course, a number of other settings here. So the most important thing is here that we can see that this particular member's account is active. We can see what his username is, and we can see what his password is. So now let's go on and look at the portal itself. Here we are at the portal login page. Now the portal would be integrated and implemented as part of your website. So one of the first things that we do on implementation is we'll skin the portal to have your graphical user interface so that the portal will look like your website, use your color schemes and your imagery and so forth. This sample one here is just using kind of a set of sample imagery. But the portal application is a modern, as I said, adaptive web application, so it does have that look and feel. You can access the portal on any device, including, as I mentioned, a phone or any other mobile device, and it will reformat itself accordingly. So the user would go ahead and enter in their username or password, or if they didn't have them, they could create an account, they could retrieve their password, and we even have a recovery function if they happen to have forgotten their username. So I would punch in my username and my password and click sign in. Just as a convenience, it's also possible if you're a staff member and you wanted to log into the portal as a member, so that you could do something on their behalf or see what they saw. Back in CRM, it's possible when you're on their profile, there's an option over here for portal login, and you can go ahead and click portal login, and it'll actually launch the portal and log you in as that member and take you to the same place that they would if they had actually logged in on their own. So once you've logged in, you'll be by default at what we call the member home page. You can always return there by clicking on the home button. This page is entirely configurable, so when the portal is implemented for you, the only options that would appear are ones that are specifically relevant to your organization. So you would turn off the ones you don't want, you could add additional ones that you do want. The whole page is configurable. There's nothing here that's really kind of written in stone. So, but we do have different sections such as managing your personal account. So if you wanted to update your personal details, view your subscriptions, if you had, say, magazine or journal subscriptions, view your opt-in or opt-out options. That's particularly important for email spam legislation if you wanted to opt in or opt out of different email communications. You could view your case list, so if you wanted to open a new case issue or you wanted to update one or check on its status, you could do that. In Manage Account, there's different options here, such as, do you want to update your company's profile if you happen to be associated to a company? Do you want to make an unapplied payment, meaning just deposit money on your account, and then it could later be applied to either future transactions or other purposes? You can edit your event registrations if you're using the member portal for event registration, which it includes an entire event registration module. You can go in there to modify your event registrations. Invoices, if you have invoices that are outstanding, you can click on View and Pay Invoices and you could view and pay your invoices. You'll recognize that terminology because it was one of the security settings that was on the members portal security settings back in CRM. We have functionality for what we call member to member, which allows members to communicate with each other, such as posting news, events, job boards, offers. That's sometimes used by things like, say, chambers of commerce who offer each other discounts on services and so forth that they provide, and the ability for members to actually advertise their own events that's outside of the event system included in the portal. And then committees, you can view committees, you can request to join a committee, you can update a committee. Committees will also allow you to say, like, run reports or send bulk emails if you have appropriate permissions. And then there's volunteerism and what volunteer items you've participated in, and you can see you can add or edit existing volunteerism records. So just to give you an idea of how some of this looks, if I go up to update your personal details and I click on that, it'll go ahead and update that screen, and you can see the different settings for my personal profile. So I could change my language or reset my middle name. I could change my password. This is where I would do that. Put in my title, put in some of my social media credentials, update my phone and email information, and then manage my addresses. So if I wanted to change my Los Angeles address, I can go ahead and click edit. It'll open the edit screen for my address, and then I could change it to John Street in Los Angeles. This uses our fully integrated address verification process as well. So when you go to update the address, if that's turned on, it'll actually validate the address. and then only let you save it if it is actually a valid address. So you can see you can do different things in terms of editing your address. You can also add additional addresses. You can delete an address if that's appropriate, and so forth. If we were to look at something such as viewing and paying your invoices, so we can click there, and it's going to then show us a list of outstanding invoices on my account. There they all are. And then I can go ahead and pay them. I could also filter them. So if I only wanted, for example, membership related invoices, I could do that. Then you can go ahead and you can go down, and all the various invoices you want to pay, you can just tick the apply box to choose those invoices, and then go ahead and apply payment. And then you can punch in your credit card and process the payment accordingly. Now, similarly, if you just wanted to deposit money on your account without actually applying it to a specific invoice, that's what the unapplied payment function is for. Again, you can change the text and the terminology that's used. And here I would just say I want to put $250 on my account. I would punch in my credit card number and my CVV, and then I would put my name and the expiry date, right? And then go ahead and process a payment, and it would charge the card for that amount, deposit it on the account, and then that would flow into the Sage 300 accounts receivable as unapplied cash and be a credit on the account that could be used for future transactions. Now there's other functionality, of course, on here. I'm not going to go through all of the details, but we can go into, say, volunteerism, and we could say I want to add a new volunteerism record, and I could say here that I volunteered for We Day, and my role was as a participant. I was doing that from this date to this date, and then I could put in some notes. And then, of course, if you wanted to add additional fields here to capture more information, that's certainly something that would be possible to do. And then I would just click Save. There we go. Now we have that entry as something that I had volunteered for. I could always go back and edit records, and I can always go in and I can see the records that I had previously entered. Now there's other functions beyond that. If we go into the Member Hub here, we can see that we can go to Member Documents. This is how I could see all the various documents that are applied to my profile. So we can see here that there are 2 receipts issued on different dates, and if I wanted to view those receipts, I can just click the View button, and it will go ahead and stream that document to me. This happens to be a PDF. And there we go. There's the PDF, right? Now, if I wanted to upload a document into the portal, I can also do that. I can say Upload Document. I can choose what kind of document is this. It's a letter. I can put in a description. There's other fields there. And then I could click Browse to choose the file, and I could actually upload it into the portal on my profile, and it would then be accessible by users in CRM. We can also look at publication. Publications in CRM are referred to as global documents. This is often where an organization would do things like publish the minutes of its last board meeting, or its terms and conditions, or contractual terms, or other forms and documents that they wanted to make available to the membership. So these are not documents that are specifically related to me as a member, but that are accessible to members and perhaps even non-members generally. There's also reports. As I mentioned, you can take reports from CRM and publish them so that a user on the portal can run them. So if they have a report listed, they can just click Run. The report will run, and the output would be rendered to them in the output method of their choice. Typically would be either PDF or an Excel document. Cases, that's the case management function. If I wanted to open a new case to tell the organization that I had a problem or an issue, or I needed them to look into something for me, I can go ahead and punch in the details of my issue, and I can save it, and then later I can come back and add additional notes to it. I can check on the status, see what notes have been recorded by the organization, and so forth. Again, these screens are configurable to your specific requirements. There are other functions such as the events functionality, which isn't a topic for today, where you can create and publish events and people can search through them and register and pay and all those sorts of things. They can be single events or groups of events. A group of events would be like an event package. Buy these 3 events together and get a discounted price. I mentioned the member-to-member with the job board and those sorts of things. There's a member directory which can be published, where members can actually choose to publish themselves into the directory. They can include their professional credentials, other information, email and contact information, so if people want to get in touch with them, they can. You can have that as an opt-in. You can have that as an opt-out. That's entirely up to you. There is an available web store. It's not part of the portal itself, but it does plug into the portal, which is your typical online web shopping system. You can publish your products, people can take them, put them in the shopping cart, check out, pay, all those sorts of things. But it's done on a fully integrated basis with Sage 300 inventory control, pricing, order entry, all those sorts of things. And then there's the donation functionality. That's part of the fundraising features of the system, where you can actually just take donations, either earmarked donations or general donations on the website, and again have that fully integrated back into ERP. So that's a brief introduction to the portal. As I mentioned, it's all configurable. If you had other functions you wanted to add in here, or links to other web pages or something like that, those can all be easily configured. It's really kind of like a pile of Lego bricks that you can assemble in any combination that you might like. So if you do have any questions on the portal or you'd like more information, please do contact us. We would be more than happy to help you. Thank you.